Happiness is freedom. Freedom is having the choice to spend your time doing things that inspire you. Most people want freedom, but many people don't have a clear objective, a roadmap, or a strategy to achieve it. Everyone deserves to live an inspired and free life. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on our most meaningful work, we simply become better human beings. We can give more, care more, support more, and love more. I'm an investor, a trader, and an entrepreneur, and I get to spend every day doing what I love. At the age of 29 years old, I became financially free, and since then my mission has been to help and inspire other people to achieve the same so that they can be more of who they really want to be. Always Free is about having a free mind, being free to question the status quo, free to take risks, free to say no, free to say yes, free from social idealisms, opinions and beliefs, free to disobey, and free to wake up every day and spend your time to make a difference that inspires you. You can have it all. Living a life designed by you isn't a stroke of luck or a result of circumstance. It's a choice. So if you want to learn how to become free and live an inspired life, join me for the #1 show for financial empowerment and wealth creation as I share my insights, tips, strategies and advice on what allowed me to be always free. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jason Graystone. Well, welcome back to the show, guys. Hope you had a nice week so far. Another special edition of the Always Free show because I've got the honour to be joined by Greg Wilkes, who will introduce himself in a moment. But before we do that, I just want to touch on a little subject quickly that came up on my socials, talking about UK economy, talking about what's going on at the moment, housing crisis, housing market, inflation, all the rest of it, bonds, pensions. And what we're going to be discussing in this particular episode is going to be really, really valuable for you guys listening because it's kind of on that subject. But what we're going to be touching on is kind of what you need to be thinking of, the way you need to be thinking in terms of not just surviving what's going on at the moment, but future. And if you're to win and you're to grow and not let this kind of sticky predicament happen again, you need to take on board some lessons and make sure that you're ready for the next time, because these things do happen usually every 10 years at least, but this is going to be this is unprecedented slightly. But anyway, let's get into the show. So welcome Greg Wilkes, thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah, well, great to be here, and thanks for inviting us, and I hope I can offer some value to your listeners.
Amazing. So Greg is I've been working with Greg in my Tears of Freedom program. I know Greg from outside the program through mutual contacts. Tell the listeners a bit about what it is you do, Greg.
Yeah, so I'm a construction business coach. I specifically coach companies to scale from around £1 to £5 million turnover a year. We're helping them really trying to achieve three things, which I know is often what you speak about: time, freedom, and money. They're the big three that people want.
So your clients are people who are own construction businesses, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they're not startups, but they're established construction owners, relatively good at what they do. Yeah. But they're either looking to scale or get some freedom back.
And let us know in the comments if you're. Let us know in the chat right now if you're in construction or that's something that you're considering. Because there are a lot of, when we say construction business owners, it's usually one of the most common, typical, situations where they go self-employed and all of a sudden they're like, they've got to do the construction, but they've got to do millions of other things, right? So it's almost like with construction, I feel like it's straight in at the deep end, arguably more than some of the other industries.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because you'll get trained for 3 years to actually how to do your trade, but then you come out of your apprenticeship and some will start on their own, but you've got no idea of actually how to run the business. How do you do the finances? How do you do the marketing? All of that, they haven't got a clue on a lot of the time. So that's where we come in and train them up on that.
Right. So what I've found is when people do have the problem, they don't know they've got the problem. So a lot of your job must be like, how do you sell to them your solutions?
Well, funny enough, when things are going great, people won't come for coaching generally.
No.
So oftentimes people that are coming to me, they might know they do have a problem. They recognise there's some sort of problem there, and that could be burnout. On the verge of burnout, just the frustration of just not having any time for the family and whatever else. or it could be financially that they're realising that they've not made any money and they're frustrated. A lot of the time we see it where their subcontractors are making more money than them, and it's crazy. All the risk and time that they're putting into it. So I would say that for people that come into coaching, I think they do have an inkling that something's not quite right.
Yeah. It's an interesting point because I come from a construction background. I was in engineering services, but still construction. We dealt with builders and we dealt with things. And you say that a lot of the time the subcontractors earn more than them. That kind of alarm bell to me is the desperation to get labour, right? And it's kind of, I'll pay you whatever you want, and there doesn't seem to be any control on the costs of projects. Is that fair?
That's exactly it. I think it starts right from the beginning on how their pricing work. Yeah. So the type of work they're going for, then it's right, I've won the work, now how do I get this fulfilled, this order? And then they're paying over the odds for subcontractors. But most of the time there's no idea or no control of costs. No. And they're running blindfolded, really. It's crazy. Yeah.
So I'm going to probably upset a few people watching now if you are in construction, but this is what I believe you need to hear. And I think this is what Greg specialises in, really. But when you are competing on, what I see a lot of is construction workers, they start their own business and they start moaning that, they're not even as good as us and they get paid more, or how can people be paying this person to do this when we take pride in this, or there's a lot of slagging each other off, right? And a lot of people, what I've seen, focus on the why me, why are they doing that, instead of actually figuring out how you can stand out above the rest and add value to your service and solve real problems.
100%. And I think even as you started the show, even more so at the moment, if we're potentially coming into a time of economic uncertainty and a potential recession, this is the time when you need to stand out. And there's no good having that negative mindset and moaning about the industry or moaning about everyone else. You've got to do something different. You've got to stand out and be counted. Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do to help them do that then? Yeah, so particularly in this period of time, I mean, if we were talking about standing out, one thing we really help them with is their marketing and getting them to, sounds so obvious, but get them to focus on what do they really want, who is their ideal client, and then focus on their brand imaging and their messaging so that they can attract that ideal client. Because recession or not, there's plenty of people out there in the UK with money and they need work done and they want to spend, and you just need to attract those type of clients. So that's one of the first things we do as far as the marketing goes. And then there's plenty because that point that's really that's a really important one, particularly for builders, because a lot of them get frustrated with low-level clients, right? And when I say low-level clients, I don't mean like they're low people. I'm talking about they're not on the level at which you want to serve, so you have to deal with the callbacks, the thing, expectations, unrealistic expectations of the client. Yeah, and what surprises me, people sometimes come to me and say, look, I'm set up to do £500,000 refurbs or whatever it is they want to do, and we look at their website and their social media, and you can see like 10 grand kitchens going in, or 5 grand bathrooms, and you think, well, how are you ever going to win the type of client you want by the way you're pitching yourself and the way you look? So we see this all the time. So they're just not pitching themselves the right way. Okay, so marketing, getting the ideal client, portraying your image to attract the people that you want to work with is really important. What about the time element? Like, how do they gain back time? How do you help them do that? Well, the first things we do is do a time audit, and it's shocking really how many hours these business owners are putting in. Because some of them, I mean, we generally work with people that are not working on the tools anymore, but some are still doing a day on the tools, and then they'll come home and they're doing all the invoicing and whatever else. So they're doing 12, 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week sometimes, and earning 30, 40k a year, and you think this is absolutely crazy for the work that you're putting in. So one of the first things you do is just open their eyes and do a time audit and look at what are they actually doing with their time. And most of the time we find that people are doing, if you like, £10 per hour tasks on nonsense that they shouldn't be doing, that they need to hand off. So we work out, what do you want to earn, and then we just reverse engineer it. So if you want to earn that amount, what task do you need to be focusing on? If it's £100 an hour task, then you need to be going out doing the £100 an hour task, not your £10 an hour things. And it all stems again back from the wrong clients, right? Because they get the wrong clients, they start up the business, they look at the going rate, and then they offer more for less to undercut to be competitive, and then they find themselves doing much more for less money. They become resentful.
they struggle to get paid because they've got the wrong type of clients. And then what they do is they're so resentful that they want to spend every penny they earn just to like buy themselves some happiness, right? And like have a holiday and blow it all. So it really is important. You start on the ideal client is going to pay you more and pay you on time, which is going to make your bank healthy. That's going to free you up of brain noise to then focus on, right, okay, how can I delegate these things that aren't conducive to the future of this business, right?
Yeah, and we see that. I mean, it's interesting what you said about when it frees you up. We've got people in our program that have just started and might be, still suffering some of the negative effects of working for wrong clients. But then we've got others who've done that. They've got the ideal clients now. Yeah. They're absolutely flying. And you just see that impact on not just the business, but on their lives, how once they've freed themselves up and they're not in the rat race anymore and they're actually running a really healthy, profitable business, they're enjoying life and they've got time. So, it really works.
I think delegations, I was just thinking back to when I started, right? So I started and I was an electrical engineer. I started my electrical engineering business when I was 22. And I remember the first month or 2 months, I was taking a suit in a van, delivering some stuff to site on the middle of Oxford Street. Then I would get in with all dust and a high-vis jacket in the back of the van, put a suit on, jump out of the van like I'm Batman or something. Everyone looking at me coming out of Oxford Street van in a suit, and then go and quote a job, and then have to get the quote. And I think the thing that I focused on most was delegation. So it was I've got to stop doing all this stuff. And instead of trying to pay myself as much money as possible then, I thought if I could just delay that for a bit and figure out exactly what you did, a time audit. I've been doing a time audit since I was in my early 20s, and it was these are all the hours in the week, these are all the things I'm doing, this is what I love doing and I'm good at, this is what I'm doing and I'm crap at, and this is how much I could replace that task for. And it was anything from £500 to £10. So I just started chipping away at the £10, and very quickly I was like, right, I've got to get someone on board. So if you are starting a business or you're in business and you haven't got a wingman or someone, an oppo of some sort, get one. I think that's a priority. I would only ever start a business now with a team of 3 people, ideally.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're obviously working with slightly more established companies, so normally they have got someone in admin that might help them with some stuff. But I think particularly at the moment with the economic uncertainty, a lot can fall into negativity and think, right, I need to shut up shop, not pay anyone, let me just do everything myself. And it's just such false reasoning, because you're always going to be, you're going to be small as a business. You can't get rid of those small tasks. So
And I've also found that there seems to be a limit in output as to what anyone can achieve based on their skills, their ability to use leverage. So we work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I've got a limit, and I find that that's measurable in income. So if someone can earn $1 million a year in a business, say, no matter how many other little businesses they start up or other endeavors that they start up, it kind of just divides across and distributes across, and they still earn $1 million a year. Mm-hmm. I've found that to be true across the board. And what it normally is down to is not being able to use leverage to get to the next level, and that is delegation. And what you just said, thinking creatively, to go, I don't need to shut up shop. Let's just think, who could help? Who could we partner with? Who could do me a favor and I do them a favor? How can I pay for something with services in return? All those kind of things. But it's kind of a catch-22, because as you go into the hole of I'm struggling, you don't think like that, right?
Exactly, that's the problem. So I guess that's where a coach comes in and sees through the wood through the trees, and they can see what's going on and can just pinpoint you in the right direction. But
amazing.
Yeah, when you're in it, it's hard to see.
Yeah, definitely. So anyone who I think we're going to see a lot of people starting up construction companies, because what typically happens during these times, these recessions, is a lot of the big ones break away. So a lot of people think that the big ones are the ones that stand through, but actually these times are where you see them disperse, and then they set up in little groups of 5 and all the same contacts, same suppliers and all the rest of it, and then it's they grow and then they distribute into 5. It's a very incestuous industry. So I think there's going to be a lot of people setting up. And what advice would you have for them setting up brand new, with a long foresight kind of long game?
So Brandon, you want to get the right foundations in place first. So come up with a bit of a plan on what do you want to achieve. So we always say there's 5 pillars in business: plan, attract, convert, deliver, and scale. They're the big 5 really. So you've got to come up with a plan on what do you want to achieve, what type of work do you want to be doing, exactly what we said before, work out that ideal client. Then you need to attract that ideal client to you. So it's, the branding, what is your social media, what does your website say about you as a business. They're the foundational stuff. Then you need to be able to convert. So we talk about the sales psychology around, think about value you're offering. Rather than being the cheapest builder or electrician or plumber out there, what value can you offer? So you're not the cheapest, but you might offer something else of value, the way you deliver. And then it doesn't become a price match. I say about your mobile phone, I've got an iPhone. That's not the cheapest by any means, but I perceive value in it because of what it does for me. And then we talk about delivering, so make sure you get the right systems in place, look at software solutions for how you can deliver on site so that your sites are running well. And then once you've done all of that, then you can start thinking about scaling who you need to bring on to take to the next level.
Amazing. I hope that's helpful. I was talking about this on the last episode about what you said about, value stacking, making sure that whenever you're thinking about putting a service together, particularly in construction or you're in building, a lot of people just think, well, I'll just be the cheapest and I'll offer the cheapest price, the best price. That's not what people want. People just want a job done and they want their problems to be zero. So what I find really, really powerful when you're thinking about considering a business plan like construction is don't just think about the problem you're solving for them by delivering the extension, right? Think about the problems you're solving for them, that they, like the reasons they don't want to use a construction. No one wants builders in their house, right? No one wants. So I gave the example, like when you go to the barbers, you get, they're solving the problem by cutting your hair, but you've got an itchy neck. And that is something I hate about going to the barbers. What are some of the things that people hate about employing builders, right?
Exactly that. So when I had a construction company years back, one of the things we focused on, our ideal client was families. We used to work with families, and we recognised their problem is they don't want strange builders in the house that are not vetted and whatever else. So we wanted our guys to be DBS checked or CRB checked, whatever it is now, and things like that. Made sure that on a Friday the site was clean and safe, so that if they were living there, it was safe for the kids. That's just additional value that other builders won't offer.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, when you highlight it to the homeowner, it's all of a sudden really important. I have to have a CRB check builder in my house. So just little things like that can make a big difference.
And if you even better, if you really want to be like non-competitive, so there's zero competition, you just give the solution a name, and it's like the ultra safe system, and immediately people can't compare that to anything. So you can then dictate your pricing more, right? It's like, well, no one else does the ultra safe system. I don't quite know what the ultra safe system is, but it sounds amazing, and I haven't seen anyone else say that. And because they can't pinpoint exactly what it is tangibly, they can't then go and compare you to the going rate.
Exactly. Yeah, and then it doesn't become about price.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, look, Greg, that's been a really great discussion. I just want to ask you one more question. With everything going on right now, at the beginning of this episode, I said we're going to talk about this. What do you think's going on? What do you think you're going to see in terms of construction and the industry?
Well, interestingly enough, I can get a bit of a gauge on what's going on in construction because I'm talking to so many construction people at all times. There is still a ton of work out there, and there's an unbelievable amount of work, and everyone I'm working with is absolutely full. Even people that are just starting with me are stacked. So it certainly hasn't started to pinch yet. So I think that construction is easily going to get through to January, February. I think before we start feeling the bite, if you're in that area. But we will start seeing a pinch, and I think people just now need to start thinking about what they're spending on, make sure that their finances are tight in construction. No doubt we're going to see a pinch, but there's a shortage of labour. People still need their houses done.
Yeah.
If people can't afford to move, they need to refurb. So I think construction is going to get through it relatively unscathed.
Yeah.
Maybe the small scale construction, the bigger stuff, that might hurt a little bit, but the smaller guys I'm dealing with, I think they'll be all right.
Absolutely. Amazing. Great value. All right, guys. Well, I just want to say thanks for coming on, Greg. And where can we find Greg, by the way?
Yeah, so developcoaching.co.uk. I've also got a book on Amazon, Building Your Future, which shows you how to build £1 million plus construction business.
Amazing. Check it out, and I'll put the links below this video. Until next week, have a great rest of your day and weekend, and we'll catch you then.